president of the local League of Women Voters here in Marshall-Harrison County, and I want to welcome you here tonight. I'm also going to invite you to move forward. I know that's like being in church, but we don't have a microphone. We have a wonderful room to be in, but somehow, somewhere along the way, the microphone disappeared. So, since this is really a conversation, we'd like you to be able to hear. So feel free to come up now if you want to. I'm going to talk to you a little bit in the meantime.
Yeah, that's true.
If you've been to a league function before, you know what we do. There's sort of an order to things. We make a presentation that's been well publicized, and thank you for responding to that.
Their Methodists still moving up. I recognize
Now, there's two good Presbyterians on the front row.
Two good Methodists up here, too.
Two good
Okay.
Two good Methodists up here.
At any rate, I've had lots of phone calls about this meeting, and I don't know what to expect because the League does not have a position on the topic that we're going to hear about tonight. I won't say too much about it, much more than that, because Gail Beal is our vice president, and she's also our program chair. She's worked very hard on this week, and I've never been in closer contact. Let me tell you a little bit about how the League got started, and I won't go into it greatly, but it was born out of the suffragette movement, and we are now 93 years old. So we decided if we were going to have the privilege of voting and the responsibility of voting, we needed to know what we were doing. And so, for many years now, we have been co-ed, if you will. As a matter of fact, the Marshall League has proudly had 3 male presidents to date. And we're in the early 40s years old. There's some debate as to what year we were actually formed. We've slept since then. But we're still, you and I are both charter members, that's indeed true. But we have met this school year, which our program year runs concurrent with a new fervor. And this is just the beginning to kick off the season. Membership is unofficially $60 per person. If you're a member of a household, that raises to $90. So the second person actually comes in for half price. Most of this is in dues that we owe to national as well as to state. But there is enough left for us to do some good and continue our wonderful, wonderful forums. Again, if you have not been to a league function before, you will know that the speaker speaks, and then after the presentation is made, you will have an opportunity, if you have signed in on the sign-in sheet, to ask your question. Normally we do this in writing. We're not doing that tonight. You have a lot more freedom. The library has agreed to stay after hours to accommodate this conversation. And let me see if there's anything else I need to tell you. We're looking at, I was going to say that for last so they remember. But we operate on 3 levels corresponding to all 3 levels of government. We speak with one voice, coordinating action with or affected leagues or levels of league. The league must have a position before it takes action, and league members must study and come to an agreement before a position is reached. We are a grassroots organization. Part of being a grassroots organization is setting up a table and chairs with banners and volunteering to register voters. Tomorrow, which is National Voter Registration Day, September 24th, we will be present on the northeast portico of the historic courthouse in Harrison County. And I don't think it's going to rain, but we have protection if it does. We will be there from 12 o'clock noon until 6 p.m. And we are in high hopes to attract some high school seniors who will soon be turning 18. If a young person is at least 17 years and 10 months old, he or she is eligible to register. They can't vote until they're 18, but let's face it, 17 years and 10 months is on the cusp. So encourage young people that you know, and visit us tomorrow and drop a dime in the box if you want to. I don't think I need to tell you that cell phones need to be silenced. If you have a need to be in touch with the outside world, please consider your neighbors. There's a certain faction of our population who seems to love to text every thought. This is not the time, if you will. Just allow us this conversation and focus on the subject at hand. If you are recording this, there is a policy that the League of Women Voters has had for a long, long time. No one called to ask permission to record this, but I don't see any reason for you not to record this. And so I'm going to make an executive decision on my feet that anything that is recorded in this room tonight at the league activity be shared in toto with the league. I have a card belonging to the lady who brought the camera. And if you have any other device, please identify that and let me know who you are. And I will expect and hope for your cooperation afterwards. Anybody else? No. Well, let me, just before we begin, I'd like to recognize the league members who are here tonight. First of all, Delane and James Townsend. And just, hi and thank you. And Ken Moon, a former president, back on our board now. He needs a sticker, Julia. Would you mind bringing Ken a sticker for his t-shirt? And our ever-vigilant treasurer, Julia Williams. So wave and say hello and thank you. All right. Okay, that's enough for me. Gail Beal is former president, charter member. And she, as I said, is our vice president and our program chairman. If everybody's comfortable, I will turn the program and the introduction to our guest over to Gail Beal.
Thank you. First of all, one of the things that we do is we try to look at both sides of controversial issues. And we realized as we were planning this summer that this issue of C-scope, it was becoming very controversial, and most of us didn't know what it was. So we read a lot and discovered that the two of the people most influential around C-scope were Thomas Ratliff, who's a member of the State Board of Education and represents, by the way, Harrison County, and Dan Patrick, who is the state senator, the chair of the Education Committee from the Woodlands in Houston. We immediately invited both men. Mr. Ratliff accepted. Mr. Patrick had other conflicts. And our policy is, if I had a statement from Mr. Patrick, I would read it. But we didn't ask for service, and we don't want one. If you have an agenda, that's fine. Ask your question, not present your agenda, if that makes any sense. I've got 8 questions. Mr. Ratliff has had a copy of these, and as does the press, and they're basic questions. Mr. Ratliff first came to the school board in 2010. He is from Mount Pleasant. Those of us who've been around a while knew his father, Bill Ratliff, now retired, very involved on his own as Raise Your Hand Texas, an advocate for public schools. Mr. Ratliff and a partner have a consulting firm in Austin. He graduated from Texas Tech, master's degree in public education from the University of Texas. You wore the red boots because
You got a lot of colors.
and that's it. I told Mr. Ratliff, the more important you are, the shorter the introduction. So sort of like, ladies and gentlemen, President.
And I need a really long introduction. If the shorter the introduction, the more important you are, then I need a really long introduction because I'm not that important.
All right. We decided, the two of us on this agenda, because we think we can get more information out than if we just ask Mr. Ratliff to speak. So, question number 1. To begin with, it's necessary to explain what is now what became the resource system, used to be known as C-scope, encompasses. When did it become available, and what grades is it designed for?
As I understand it, it's in the current form that we know it. It was started in 2006. It started before that, kind of in concept and on paper, a few years before that, and it was originally started at Region 8 in Mount Pleasant, ironically. back when I was well away from here and had no interest or idea of what was going on because my kids were in a school district in Austin. It covers K through 12, the Texas standards adopted by the State Board of Education. And there are three main components. There used to be four, but now there's three. The year at a glance, which basically gives a teacher from day one to test day what the State Board of Education expects every student in that class to know. And so it allows the teacher to kind of look at the whole landscape of that class and say, where am I starting, where do I need to finish, and how do I get there? That's referred to as the YAG, the year at a glance. There's also the scope and sequence documents that lays out every student expectation or every standard and helps the teacher group them together in a logical scope and sequence to hit all of those standards before the state of Texas tests that student at the end of the year. And so it's kind of a recipe, if you will, so they're not teaching every expectation by themselves. Some of them are logically grouped together. It used to include sample lessons or model lessons, but those have been pulled down as a part of this. Those are now in the public domain, and they're on a variety of websites for any and everybody to see. And then they have assessments or tests to test kids along the way to make sure they're understanding the concepts before they get to the end of year test, whether it's tested by the state or locally or however that student is tested. And so those are in there as well for teachers to use, edit, use as they see fit.
Okay, why did we change the name?
I think primarily because this controversy, the political baggage had gotten so great that they wanted to change the name to kind of have a fresh start. They may have a different answer. That's from Thomas Ratliff. That's not from the CSCO people or the regional service centers. And they also have changed because they no longer have model lessons. They have a new mission, and it really is helping teachers cover the TEKS, which is the acronym for the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. And that's what the State Board of Education adopts for every class in every subject. We adopt what's called the Essential Knowledge and Skills, and the acronym is TEKS. So they changed their name to the TEKS Resource System to reflect that new mission.
Okay, now, the next question is why do you feel like this approach is better than the lesson plans that came before it? And what are the advantages for teachers, for students, for parents?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily better than what came before it. The key thing in my mind is that CSCO, or TEKS Resource System, or whatever we want to call it, it's important that it be optional for the teacher. I am adamantly opposed to a school district superintendent or principal forcing a teacher to use it. I think that's one of the problems we've got in Austin is we're turning teachers into order takers instead of educators. We need to trust teachers to do their jobs. The reason why I think a lot of districts use CSCO, and before I go any further, let me make sure y'all understand, I am not, have not, am not, and will not encourage districts to use or not use CSCO. What I've been fighting for and working for is to allow districts to make that decision, not the Texas legislature. I trust the 7 locally elected school board members of Marshall ISD or Tyler or Texarkana or Mount Pleasant or Sherman or Lufkin to know what their local community and their teachers and students need a whole lot more than the 15-member State Board of Education or the 181-member legislature. And whether they choose to use this or any other resource should be a local decision, not a state decision. So having said